you're going through a breakup and you're thinking to yourself, how the heck can solitude help me lower my cortisol and stabilize my dopamine? In this video, what we're going to talk about is the neurobiology behind breakups, how cortisol and dopamine levels can stabilize when you're alone, and the medical evidence behind it. I'm Dhruva, MD, a practicing board-certified family doctor, and I've been single for about 8 years total in my life on purpose. You're at the store, you get a text message, you know that this breakup is going to happen. You have gotten in an argument a few times with your partner. You've already thought way ahead. You're like, well, I got these other two that I've talked to before. This relationship was not that serious. Forget about them. I don't need them. And then right when you get in the car, you call up a friend, a family member, somebody that you know that will agree with you. Let's say you're complaining about them. They'll agree with you. But what about that one person? What about that YouTube video, that guru? That person who knows what they're talking about. We're not talking about me because I don't give advice. I just inspire through stories. But you know, if you were to talk to them, then they might tell you something that you don't want to hear. What is that? Is that your cortisol is sky high, your dopamine is out of control, and you need to reset it by being alone. This being alone stuff, the definition can vary. When I think of monastic solitude, I've been in monastic solitude since about 2015 when I went through a divorce. I had these narcissistic traits that I hated. I was complaining, I was blaming, I had the narcissistic traits of being condescending, lacking empathy, and just being full of myself and playing victim. Why did this happen to me? Oh, why me? But I did not even believe that. That's the interesting part about it, is I always thought that I was stupid. I was the one who had the low self-esteem. I was the dumb one. I was the guy that was mentally ill. I was just the dumb doctor, is what I thought for so many years. If you're going through something like this, I can empathize with you and I can understand, and I was right where you were. Monastic solitude can be different for everybody. What I consider monastic solitude is that I'm not dependent on anybody. Now, during these 10 years, I had a couple of relationships that were about 1.5 years each. But throughout that whole other time, 7.5, almost 8 years now, I've been single on purpose. There was a few times where I dated here and there, but I was never serious. Interestingly, when you're not serious is when other people want to latch onto you. But in my mind, I was like, no, I hate myself. I'm not going to displace my fears on other people. Right then, done. My cortisol decreases. The dopamine resets. I'm like, oh, I'm going to love myself before I get out there. Okay, fine. You know, I might be talking to somebody, texting somebody. Of course, I have this emotional dependency on somebody else. I thought that I needed to be with somebody to be happy. I thought that I needed some community to be happy. I thought I needed to be your friend. I thought you needed to like me for me to be good. I thought all the doctors and all the patients need to love me before I love myself. I thought that I needed to fit in and people please my way into society before I can love myself. But until I got out of this, affectionately what I call the matrix, I did not even know. Stabilize the cortisol, stabilize the dopamine, stabilize the oxytocin. You start over because you're like, look, I just need to depend on myself. What does it look like for me to love myself? Let me be in monastic solitude, not be emotionally dependent on anybody, and maybe I can consider writing my best friend. Instead, before, what my best friends were cigarettes, alcohol, drugs, gambling, complaining, blaming. Those were my best friends. Now my best friend is writing. And I'm not going to say that this works all the time. For example, my best friend sometimes could be my bed. I will schedule it in. I'm going to lie down all day long and I'm going to eat protein cereal. Before, I would lie down all day long, eat cereal, regular cereal in my bed. So I feel that that's an upgrade. And you know what that allows me to do is it allows me to live in monastic solitude without completely hating myself and not being so lonely, because I don't have friends, I don't have family, I don't have a partner, I don't have anybody that I can depend on. I have my pets, my Persian cat Ajay, my Havanese Yorkie Suarna, and my domestic short hair Spokey. I have YouTube, I have my speaking, and that's it for now. Hopefully one day something will happen, but this monastic solitude business, I gotta tell you guys, I've only been coming out with it for the last few months after I got ghosted recently. I went through a breakup. about 10, 11 months ago. And after that, I was single for some time. I dated here and there for a couple of months. And then I got ghosted by a woman, and that was it. I was like, look, there's something more to my life than this. I've lived alone most of my life. Of course, I've spent 50 nights next to somebody over like the last 10 years. I've been alone for the most part. I haven't depended on anybody for my emotions, and I hope the same for you. Let's read some medical evidence to try to understand cortisol, breakup pain, and how dopamine will affect that, and how solitude can help you. Cortisol and loneliness. Moments of loneliness, especially right after loss, drive cortisol levels even the next day. When loneliness is chronic, not solitude, we're talking about loneliness, we're talking about involuntary isolation. It flattens your diurnal cortisol rhythm, meaning exhaustion, anxiety, and poor recovery become your norm. Oh, I gotta be with somebody. I hope that they text me back. Let me just call that one person. Oh, but I got that side person. I can just go back online, right? Oh, somebody will love me. I just gotta find that person who just accepts me for who I am. I'm good the way I am. That's what that other person told me. You don't need that in your life. You wanna say, look, I'm gonna be alone. If I need to be alone for the rest of my life, that's what it's gonna take. Hopefully you won't get there. I'm gonna manifest that I'll be with somebody, but not until I figure out what it means to self-validate myself, for my self-esteem to be high enough for me to love myself and not hate myself. Maybe I'll write my way into it and I'll say no to everything. Sugar, alcohol, drugs, cocaine, marijuana, gambling, complaining, blaming. I'll say no, boom, dopamine, cortisol, reset. Dopamine withdrawal from love loss. Romantic love floods your brain with dopamine, and breakup drains it. Your experience is real, physical withdrawal is real, less joy and motivation are real. These things you're not making up. You're in neurochemical warfare. Create alchemical awareness. What does that mean? Alchemizing your resentments and saying, that happened to me, well, maybe I can help somebody else one day. You're like, man, I need help right now. That's great. At least if you can decrease your pain, your resentment by 1%, isn't that good? That's free. You just got to keep doing it. Maybe this will help somebody someday. When I stay alone, maybe I can help somebody with monastic solitude one day. Maybe when I get to this new relationship, my partner will benefit from me being in the monastic fire. That's enough, isn't it, for the time being? At least if you can be inspired by this, you can stay in monastic solitude for at least a period of time. Now, that can look different for you. At the time I first started monastic solitude, my mom lived with me. We only knew each other for the last 7 years of her life. She had schizophrenia. And during that time, I wasn't dependent on her. I couldn't talk to her about anything. We never sat down and had dinner together at home. We did travel the world, but at that time, we didn't have like full-blown conversations on life, unfortunately. But nevertheless, I depended on my writing. And that's what I hope for you too. Solitude versus loneliness. Solitude, when chosen, means intentional rest and reset. It differs radically from loneliness, which triggers continual stress responses. Healing solitude helps recalibrate cortisol and allows your brain to begin rewiring reward pathways. Imagine that time that you're in this relationship. You can call it toxic. You're like, look, this is what I did when I learned what I need to do when I'm in a relationship for it to go well. If I need to be alone, you just say, look, I need to be alone, but it needs to be intentional and purposeful. Not that you're deprecating or you're gonna go talk to somebody else. It doesn't work like that. You can't just go talk to somebody when you're alone and healing. You have to do it by yourself. Mind hygiene has been studied on over 4,100 patients, but I've used it over thousands of my patients over the years. And you can see a link in the description to the mind hygiene study, and I'm going to directly read an excerpt from the mind hygiene study. Spiritual health. Many patients initially felt unclear about their purpose, but now live their lives daily in alignment with their mission, often using language like, I feel aligned, I found meaning, I'm clear on my purpose, and I understand my why. Here's the thing about spiritualism. You have neurospiritual sovereignty. What does that mean? You're not emotionally tied down. You're free from your emotions. You're sovereign. And you're not dependent on dopamine from somebody else. You've reset your dopamine. You know what it takes to reset the dopamine. If you think that this does not work all the time, you're right. It doesn't work all the time. Imagine that day where you're batting at 300. That means you're failing 70% of the time. That's a high batting average. If you're shooting 50% from the three-point line, you're gonna make the All-Star game. That's a great day. If you're feeling good 50 to 60% of the day without a drug, without me, you don't need to listen to me. You don't need my process. You can be inspired by me, but you don't need a coach. You don't need a friend. You don't need a family member. You don't need a therapist. You can do this by yourself. Of course, you can take the game from them, but you don't need to be dependent on them. That's the idea, right? The idea is to depend on yourself and to default back to that when you have a problem and if you were to go through a breakup again. I was to get back into a relationship, I'm not worried. I'm okay to be alone for the rest of my life. As God is watching me right now, I'm okay to be alone. Do I want to? Shoot, maybe there's a part of me that does not even know what it really feels like, because maybe God has put me in this position for a reason, to inspire other people, because I'm just okay being alone. Of course, I want to call. You don't think I want to? You don't think I want to go online? You don't think I want to go dating? I want to ask somebody out. I just don't do it because I just don't think it's the right time for me right now. I just don't feel it's the right time. Although I do feel that I'm healed. I finally think that I'm a good person. I love myself. I've loved myself for the last 4 years of my life, but still at the same time, I'm moving. So I don't want to do a disservice to somebody. I don't want to say, before I wouldn't have cared. Now I'm living within my core values and I can inspire you. Before I would have been like, well, maybe, they might move with me. What if they love me? I fall in love. Maybe I'll just stay here. No, I'm moving. I cannot do that to somebody else. When I go to this new place, I'm not going to start dating right away. I want to date, settle in for a little bit. What's my mission, vision, purpose? Am I spiritually aligned? And we'll take it from there. If this video resonated with you, please share the video with those that need it, subscribe. I'll be dropping videos Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on how you can believe in yourself if you're going through a breakup, life tragedy, or you're in emotional isolation. Namaste.